You're watching the Federal Workforce Fallout, where each week we break down the impacts to our neighbors in the federal workforce. I'm Larry Miller. Well, one of the big headlines this week was the announcement that the American Federation of Government Employees filed a lawsuit against the EEOC. That's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It's actually one of many lawsuits the union has filed against the federal government. Well, that lawsuit alleges that the EEOC is violating the Administrative Procedure Act when it reportedly issued a suspension, a blanket suspension last year on work involving class action complaints in the federal sectors. Well, the attorneys who filed that complaint told me that it means that federal workers who they say have legitimate cases are not able to seek fair justice. I spoke with two of those attorneys involved in the case, Joseph Sellers and Taran Wilgus-Null. Guys, thank you so much for some time today to talk about this lawsuit. I know there's been a lot of interest in it since it's been filed. Can you walk us through sort of what the lawsuit is all about and why is it necessary to even file in the first place?
So perhaps I'll get started because we were the one who started the case. Mm-hmm. So we have noticed over the last 6 months that the EEOC has been suspending all the federal employee class discrimination cases that are pending in the administrative process of the EEOC, which is a vital part of the EEOC's federal enforcement program, without any explanation. One of those cases, the Pippin case, which is mentioned in our complaint, the administrative judge was candid in explaining that the suspension of these cases was across the agency and without any explanation as to why, but at least to clarify this wasn't just some random set of events. In doing so, the EEOC has compromised the ability of thousands of federal employees to vindicate their rights to be protected against employment discrimination, particularly through the most efficient way possible, which is to pursue the claims collectively as class actions. And in doing this, the EEOC has violated its own regulations, which require that it process these actions expeditiously. So we've filed this lawsuit to challenge the EEOC's unlawful action and seeking to have it restore these cases so they can proceed as they have for the last 30 to 35 years smoothly.
In the Pippin case is the only one that we are aware of where the administrative judge has issued in writing notification that they've gotten messaging to pause all of these federal sector class actions. But administrative judges in other cases have orally told people on the phone that they've been given this directive, or in some cases, they're just canceling all hearings without any notice, but none of these cases are moving forward as they should.
And can you tell me how rare or even how common something like this is? I don't think we've heard about this ever.
Unique, unprecedented. Mm-hmm. It's never happened at the EEOC. We're not aware of it happening at any other federal enforcement agency.
And what does this mean? I'm sorry, go ahead, Taryn. You want to add something?
Oh, I was just going to say, and it's not just a matter of practice. There are EEOC regulations that require them to move forward expeditiously with these cases.
Expeditiously is a sort of subjective word, right? I mean, it could be expeditious, could be a month, it could be 3 years, right?
But it's certainly not stopped. Mm-hmm. Whatever expeditious means, it doesn't mean that when the cases are suspended, nobody would doubt that's not expeditiously moving the cases along.
Can you talk us? Yeah, Joseph, thank you. Can you talk to us a little bit about the sort of implications associated with this, right? Clearly, there are people that are sort of caught in the crosshairs trying to seek some sort of remedy that are not able to get it. Can you walk us through sort of what this looks like for those on the other side of this?
So first of all, let's start with the women who were involved in this particular case. There are women correctional officers at a prison facility in Louisiana, maximum security facility, where they are charged with guarding male inmates. And they are the subject of the most egregious, vulgar forms of sexual harassment you can possibly imagine. I probably won't discuss them on this call, but they are confronting this on a daily basis. The only recourse they have, the only protection they have, is by proceeding with this case and obtaining an order directing the management of this facility to provide the proper precautions protecting them. And by suspending this case, these women are being left without the ability to secure the protections under law against ongoing severe and pervasive sexual harassment. The same is true in other cases. They're not quite as dramatic because the harassment may be the most imminent, causing the most imminent harm. But there are cases where I have a case where we have older workers who were removed from positions at the Department of Defense, we allege because of age discrimination, and they're getting older, and some of them aren't surviving. And so the passage of time is causing an injustice to them. They may never see the remedies that the law provides. And in addition, memories fade, documents go missing, people leave the government and are no longer available to be witnesses. There are a whole host of ways in which the suspension of these cases are causing irreparable harm to everyone.
And just to be clear, a class action is a case in which a whole group of people, a large group of people, are all experiencing the same discrimination, the same harassment, the same hostile work environment. So these are large groups of people who are just stuck in limbo. It takes a lot of courage to come forward with a case like this. Conditions have usually gotten quite bad before people are willing to file a complaint. So these are people in bad situations who have been willing to come forward, and now they're just halted. They're just waiting. And some of these folks, like the plaintiffs in the Pippin case, have already been litigating for years. And in fact, those plaintiffs have already gotten a class certified. They've already filed with the EEOC a motion for class certification that has been granted. So an administrative judge has already found that it makes sense to view this as a class action. And now they're just stuck and waiting without being able to get relief, and they don't know when or if they'll be able to get relief.
I'm curious. I mean, you've had the opportunity to listen to some of the public statements made by officials with the EEOC in terms of the things that they are prioritizing right now. They've sort of not minced words about the facts about what they consider now to be important, and the things that they are interested in pursuing. Does that factor at all into your case in terms of how you plan to present, or even about the ability to get justice in the way that you would want to see it?
So first of all, this is not about enforcement priorities of the sort that the EEOC has announced that seem to be a reversal from 50 years of enforcement priorities of the Commission. This is a process that's required by law. The EEOC has no discretion in being required to administer this process and provide the ability for these claims to proceed. So this is not a discretionary process in the way that the EEOC might be able to explain we have other priorities now that we're pursuing. It can't back away from obligations it's undertaken that are part of a lawful set of regulations that it's bound by.
And this is also affecting every single class action federal sector case. So it's not about what the case is about. It's not only affecting cases with issues that may be disfavored by this administration. It's every federal sector class action.
Is there anything else that you think is important for us to know that I didn't ask? Anything else that's important for viewers to sort of consider?
I would just say that we've been in touch with many federal employees, but if there are others who want to come forward and discuss with us the circumstances in their case, we'd welcome the chance to hear from them.
And I think the only thing that I would add is that it's a pretty hard time to be a federal employee, but these folks are doing really important jobs that we all as Americans really need people to do. And it's simply adding insult to injury to not let federal employees who have experienced discrimination or harassment in the workplace to merely move forward with their class actions. This is really leaving a lot of people in terrible work situations.
Any indication when you guys could be in court to sort of move forward with the process in this?
Well, we are very shortly, in the next day or two, going to be moving for a preliminary injunction, asking the court to direct the EEOC to vacate or rescind the suspension order. So we expect to be in court very shortly.
Okay, all right. And of course, we'll be waiting, and we will report on it once it happens as well. Coming up, our next federal workforce fallout chat with the recruiters panel discussion is officially scheduled. What to expect and what job seekers need to know right now to give them a competitive edge. You've asked, and now we're delivering. Our next federal workforce fallout chat with the recruiters Zoom discussion will take place on August 12th. At 1 p.m. Again, that's August 12th at 1 p.m. The Zoom link is available for you to register on our website at WUSA9.com. Well, during our last discussion, we heard from so many of you asking questions about your resume, AI, and how to approach a recruiter. Well, our second discussion will be even more dynamic. And leading our panel is Bill Fitzgerald, CEO of Fitstrake Search and author of the book, Searching for a Job Sucks. Bill, August is going to be a big month for us because we have another federal workforce fallout chat with recruiters part 2. We had a huge reception the last time we did it with nearly 100 people showing up. It actually wouldn't allow us to bring in more people because we were just overflooded with the turnout. You know, a lot of people said that they were, after the conversation, that they were really thankful to hear from those recruiters, yourself and the rest of our panel, that they took away a lot of great information and they're looking forward to the next one because they still have questions and they still need help.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about this, Larry, and these sessions with recruiters are some of the most valuable job seekers are ever going to have, because if you think about a recruiter, they're really the gatekeeper to this whole process. They're the gatekeeper when somebody sends in their resume. They're the gatekeeper when they're determining who is going to get to a hiring manager. So understanding what they look for, how they evaluate a resume, how they evaluate a candidate during an interview is absolutely critical. So getting the opportunity to ask them questions is a perspective that most candidates never get. So yeah, I think these sessions are just absolutely invaluable for a job seeker.
You know, it was really interesting to me because we had so many former federal workers that were on the call with us, you know, all of them sharing their stories. It was so interesting about sort of the change of moving from the public sector, moving from the federal workforce into the private sector for some of them, because it still feels like many that we've spoken with are still struggling, trying to find the language to communicate what they've done in this, you know, awesome public sector job where they were responsible for high level things, to then moving that into the private sector where, you know, speed, efficiency is a lot different in terms of the way in which is measured and understood.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing you see on these resumes written by federal employees, Larry, is there's a huge focus on process activity. And you see, you know, when they talk about accomplishments, they talk about they use words like organize, facilitate. They're not using language that you find in the private sector, which is more results oriented, you know, improved, increase, eliminate. But when you talk to these folks, they've actually had they've actually had that experience, but they don't think about it in those terms. They think about it in terms of what they did to get someplace, but they don't think about the place. They don't think about the ending. They focus on the journey. They don't focus on the endpoint of the journey. So my encouragement to all these folks is just keep asking yourself that question. Why did that matter? Why did that matter? Ask it over and over as you identify a bullet that you think is an accomplishment, because as you ask that question, it gets you closer to something that's a real outcome, something that's a result. So I believe they've got the experience. It's just thinking differently about how to formulate their accomplishments so it will resonate with somebody in the private sector.
And no doubt the advice that you've provided and the formula that you provided as well, I think really resonated with a lot of people because they were really having to think about their work in a completely different way so that it reads, I think, the way that they want it to read for someone that's in a, you know, large organization looking to fill important roles.
Well, and plus some of these folks, they're used to writing really long documents. A private sector recruiter, you know, 2, 3 pages max. They don't want to see a 5 or 6 page document. They want to be able to see clearly right up front what somebody is. Are they a project manager, a program manager, a finance person? And those jobs, they do translate to the private sector. I think some of the challenge people are having, Larry, is certainly it's a problem with translating public to private, but there's also this reality, and you've seen the numbers. There aren't as many jobs. So they're trying to do this in an employment marketplace where there just are not as many opportunities as there were 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So it sometimes they draw the conclusion that, well, it's, I'm not, I'm unable to make that transition because I'm a public sector person. And it just isn't necessarily true. They're up against some tough odds right now. And, it just requires you to persist and battle through it because they'll get there, but it just takes so much longer now than it did in the past.
I want to get from your perspective, you were responsible for, helping to bring the panel together. What was their reaction to the conversation, the questions? I want to know from their perspective what it was like.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. I mean, you remember part of their role is dealing with all the fallout of AI. It's not all positive.
Mhm.
They see all these resumes and getting the opportunity to say to folks, you know what? Just letting AI develop your resume is not a good solution. Kelly talked about seeing multiple resumes that all look alike.
Mhm.
So being able to say to folks, you know what? It's got to be you. It's got to be your voice. AI can help you perhaps formulate an accomplishment or say something a little bit different, but it's got to be you. And being able to say to that audience, don't rely on that technology 100% to find you a job because you're going to be wildly disappointed. I think they also found it interesting that the perception out there is technology is making all of the decisions. And it's just not true. I mean, people who are not getting opportunities are drawing that conclusion because no one's calling them. But the fact is, most times somebody is looking at a resume or they've put in, the right keywords that will cause the right resumes to bubble up to the top. I mean, part of the challenge, Larry, that I see over and over is people don't understand that when a recruiter, whether it's a retained recruiter like myself, an in-house recruiter, when they're looking to fill a job, they're not looking for somebody who can do the job, right?
Mhm.
They're looking for somebody who will be great in that job.
Mhm.
So a lot of people will see something posted, hear about something, and hey, well, I can do that. I'm going to apply. The fact is, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for greatness. So again, it's being selective. I just got an email this morning from a woman, no exaggeration, Larry, who I was talking to. And what I encouraged her to do was play to her strengths. I said, and the conversation is, what makes you a rock star? And she was able to articulate, here's what I am, and here's what makes me a rock star. And she focused there. And no kidding, she sent me an email today. I just got a contractor's role, and you know what? I'm a rock star. And that's the difference. I mean, when you play to your strengths, and I don't care if you're a janitor, you're a program manager, or a VP of finance, if you play to your strengths, you increase the odds that you're going to find a new opportunity.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I really like that. You're a rock star, and sort of playing into that and telling that story.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? Organizations like to talk about top talent. They like to cull through their employee base and pull out, the top 10% as their quote unquote top talent. And I've come to learn over the years that everybody has the potential to be in that top talent. They just need to be in the right role and they need to be in the right organization. So what they do is play to their strengths and excel. And they can be that exceptional performer. They just need to be in the right role in the right organization. What recruiters do is they make that determination. when they get a resume or they look at somebody's LinkedIn profile, they're going to make that determination. Is this person going to be a rock star? Is this person going to be a superstar? I don't care if they can do the job. I mean, I'm doing a search right now, Larry, and seeing lots of resumes. And there's no question a lot of these folks can do the job.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm looking for.
Mm. You want the rock star. You're
I want
committed
the
to
rock
that.
star.
Yeah.
I want the superstar. I want the person who really stands out and satisfies the requirements for a particular job we're trying to fill.
Yeah.
And you know what? That leaves a lot of people out.
Hmm. And
So
that's the reality of this as
that
well.
is the reality of this process.
Yeah.
So that's why it's play to what you're great at. And most people have a very hard time identifying that. And they think if they go broad to the marketplace, I can do this, that, and the other thing, they think it'll lead to more opportunities. The irony there is it actually leads to fewer opportunities.
Mm. Mm. No, I think that sort of shift there is particularly helpful. I mean, for those that are currently looking for work. I mean, Bill, I think when we think about our event coming up in a couple of weeks, there's a
Yeah.
lot of high hopes about what we'll be able to do, the sort of conversations that we'll be able to have. What is something that you probably want to really drill down on with our next conversation? I mean, so much was talked about the last time. I think for some, it really was a sort of eye-opening moment. Those that have really struggled to tell their own professional story. Where do you
Yeah.
want to really drill down on this time that we really didn't get a chance to talk about last time that will really be the thing that you'll be leading with in our conversation with
Yeah.
our job
I
seekers?
want the recruiters to talk a lot about AI.
Hmm.
I mean, people need to understand where it helps and where it hinders. And I think we're starting to see um, some of the reality of AI coming to fruition now. As 6 to 12 months ago, all you heard CEOs talking about was how AI was going to eliminate hundreds and thousands of jobs.
Mhm.
Now, what you're hearing is them backing off of that. And the reason I bring that up, because it's very similar to the job search process. All we've heard, AI will, write your resume, prepare you for an interview, do this, that, and the other thing. And there's no question there's value to it. But people need to understand the limits. So I hope we lean into that. I hope we lean into, how these applicant tracking systems really work so people understand that there's more human touch going on here than they're led to believe. Um, I'd like the recruiters to talk about, how they differentiate that rock star from everybody else. And everybody has the capability to write a resume that demonstrates that kind of capability. So those are the topics, Larry, that I would like to see, the panel lean into. And I'm hoping the participants come with just lots of questions because, as I said, you rarely get an opportunity like this to talk to these gatekeepers, and they're the ones who will be able to guide them through this process and hopefully help them land more successfully.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting the sort of questions that we got from the first round. I mean, people were asking us a lot about not just resumes, but also even how to approach a recruiter. And I remember that question we
Yeah,
were talking about the video, and I was asking our panelists, including yourself, about whether or not you had received a video from someone that was looking to sort of get
yeah,
their attention and start the process. And it left some sort of thinking and pondering about whether or not that was too forward. And I think John, it is, if I remember correctly, said that he in fact had received a video
yeah,
from someone and that it stood
yeah.
out to him. And so I think there will be a great opportunity for those to sort of see and sort of test out maybe some things that may work or may not work as they start to
Yep,
have those conversations.
yep. I think so. I think so. It's always interesting to hear the creative ways people come up with to get in front of a recruiter or to get in front of a hiring manager. Some can work, some maybe not so much, but it's always interesting to hear what people are coming up with.
Yeah, folks are definitely getting creative. I don't blame them.
Oh, I don't blame you, man.
All right, August 12th, 1 p.m. via
Yeah,
Zoom. That's our
can't
that's our
wait.
date.
It's going to be great.
It's going to
It's
be
going to
great.
be
We're going to have
great.
another one. We're looking forward
All
to a
right.
great turnout. Bill Fitzgerald, always good to see you. Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Take care.
Again, our next federal workforce fallout chat with the recruiter Zoom discussion will take place August 12th at 1 p.m. Again, that's August 12th at 1 p.m. The Zoom link to register available on our website at WUSA9.com. You can count on WUSA9 to stay on top of the reductions to the workforce, those affected, and what it means for our communities. In the meantime, scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you to a special section of WUSA9.com dedicated to our coverage of this story. And of course, we'll keep you updated right here on federal workforce fallout. We appreciate you being here. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.